Hi all. I had an interesting game in the first round of the Barnet Congress, which by the way I scored 50%. I was quite pleased overall because I played two of the top seeds. In the first game I was playing Jeremy Fraser-Mitchell and I kicked off with E4 and he played the French Defence. I decided to not play anything too unusual. I played D4 here, D5 Knight C3, so I'm inviting the mainline Winawer variation. So Bishop B4, I play E5, and after C5 I play A3. And one of the ideas I have in reserve in this system is not to play it too sharply, trying to sort of win black's g-pawn later, but instead play an older system, which I think Fischer was playing, which basically you want to try and liberate this bishop later on this diagonal, because black's just given up that dark square bishop, and these squares are potentially, they're weaker than usual. So he plays knight e7 and I play bishop d3. He played b6, slightly unusual move. He wants to swap off the light square bishops. I wasn't too concerned about this. I thought I'd throw in now a4. And also potentially, if bishop a6, I was thinking about bishop b5. But when I got to this position after bishop a6, I thought, well, actually, what about just a5? Because I'm kind of, undermining c5 a bit. And if I'm going to play later bishop a3, a5 might be good to get rid of that isolated pawn. But as it happens, I did create quite a lot of danger for myself later on the queen side, because although I am removing a theoretical weakness, it is standing in the way of black's a pawn, and we're going to see later black's a pawn becomes quite menacing. He first took on d4, and then he took on d3, and after knight bc6, I do take. And after queen takes b6, he's got a potentially strong, dangerous passed a pawn here. And you wouldn't think of it, that big a deal at the moment. But watch what happens in the game. After castles, I play bishop a3. I was at this stage quite content with my position, but maybe I'm slightly, overestimating it. Rybka likes it a little bit, sort of 0.40. After rook fc8, I play bishop c5, and now I play. I seem, for a cheap threat, knight g5, attacking h7. But really, I want to be able to get in f4 and f5. Because I think, in this position, where he has exchanged off his light square bishop, his grip on f5, is not so secure, because he hasn't got that bad bishop in inverted commas, because if it was on d7, f5 would be less playable. So after knight g6, I play f4. And if he kicks the knight, I've always got the idea of knight h3 now. But he plays a5, so he's getting his passed pawn going. And, we see that, this is going to get more dangerous. I play now also a move c3, a cautious move, and maybe this isn't best. I didn't really like the idea of allowing knight b4, but I think actually it's harmless. I could just move my queen and then play c3. I lost a bit of time now, because also, by playing c3, he plays knight d8, and all of a sudden he's got the threat of knight b7. So attacking this bishop, and if the bishop moves, then c3 drops. So I'm getting quite passive now on the queen side. I play rook ac1, and he plays h6, kicking that knight on g5. I play knight h3, and now knight b7. So my bishop has to retreat, and now he's also got the c4 square. So queen c4. I play though queen d1 to try and reserve some attacking possibilities like queen h5. And potentially I've got the idea of f5 and also maybe e6 to try and undermine the g6 knight if the queen's on h5. He plays though a4, and it seems my time is running out because of his queenside counterplay. I play g4 here, and now black's better according to Rybka. He plays knight a5, and he's got things like knight b3 now, and it's getting quite dangerous. After f5, knight f8, I thought I'd speed up things by playing bishop takes f8, and maybe again I overestimated this fawn pawn, thorn, f6. I thought this would be quite dangerous for his king, but maybe it wasn't as dangerous as I imagined. Here I didn't want to play queen d2 because he's got king h7 followed by rook h8. So what I did was actually rook f3. And I was thinking, I'm hoping to discourage king h7 because I thought I would have knight g5 here. But maybe this is not sound. Let's have a look. No, actually it is. Rybka likes the idea as well. So chasing the king back before black has a chance for rook h8. And now queen d2. And so this pawn is vicious, because I'm now threatening queen g5 and mating. So you say, has black got enough time to escape? No, because after king f8, it's like rook h8 is mate. And, here, how does black defend the king? The queen can't come back on the dark squares. And apparently this is a mating 6 as well, according to Rybka. So basically, yeah, this rook f3 does, stop king h7 because of knight g5. But actually king g8 here, and apparently it's okay. But then Rybka changes its mind. Rook h3 is still very dangerous because hg, queen d2 again, and again, it's just lethal. So really, yeah, rook at f3 was kind of nifty because it's also defending c3. He plays knight b3, and I just offer the rook now. He's stopping my queen, coming to a dark square to get onto h6. So I play queen e1, threatening queen e3 and queen h4 to try and get to h6, and also offering an exchange. So it's too dangerous to take that exchange. Let's have a quick look again. Knight takes, queen takes. If king here, now knight g5 again. So this is a nice little, trick with the knight, because this is now, mating again. So he dare not do that. Knight takes c1. What he did play was evacuate his king, and this is where the game gets a bit wild. Rook at fc8. I play queen h4, and he evacuates now with king f8. So I take on h6, and he plays king e8. Now rook cf1. And, maybe he should just carry on with his pawn with a3. But actually he sacked a knight now, and Rybka doesn't like this. It gives a big advantage for me. But I kind of chickened out here, because I thought maybe he'd calculated something which I didn't see. But actually, he's getting 2 pawns and potentially a third pawn now. But maybe I should have just played, the Rybka recommendation, king h1. If we have a look at this, where is black's counterplay? Say he takes on e5. Now knight g5, apparently, and I have got, some strong threats. Let's see what they are. Say rook c2, so black's trying to get counterplay with the rook and queen. But the queen's protecting h2 at the moment. And here, apparently, knight takes f7 or queen h7 is very strong. So say queen h7, rook h7, check. And here, knight takes f7. And if knight takes f7, I'm attacking the queen. I'm also threatening queen d8, and it starts to get very nasty for black. So, and also this pawn is very dangerous now, in this kind of variation. Also rook h3. So if the queen is just, guarding the back row, then if the rook comes, this is going to be starting to be very, very dangerous for the black king. So say he takes, check, and now just, queen c8. Apparently that's going to be all over in this kind of position. Now rook takes a7. So he can't really, allow this. So this was a bit unsound. Let's go back though. After c takes d4, queen takes, I played the chicken kind of move, trying to get the queens off, because I didn't want his rook and queen counterplay. I should have perhaps, been more brave to calculate it all with the knight g5 variations. And we see how, in the transition to the end game, these pawns are weak, and I was really kind of off balance, and I was a bit lucky perhaps in the end to win this game, because, he wins this third pawn, and I play queen a3, getting the queens off now, because I'm threatening queen e7. So he plays check, we get the queens off, and it's tricky. This end game is not so clear cut. I think it's approaching, a theoretical draw, because he's winning my e5 pawn and now my f6 pawn. So I've got knight for the 2 pawns, and I kind of go into a different mode of thinking, I really need to get my king activated now. There's not really much passed pawn potential, considering I've only got 1 pawn left. So really the key thing is to try and get the rook and knight working together, and the king to get it up the board somehow. And there was a time scramble coming up, so the moves weren't really recorded that well from this point on. I did try and get this dark square grip going with knight d3. I remember this, and now this h4 move. But from this point on, there's some improvisation on the game score now. He was aiming to play I remember he was aiming to play king f6 and g5 to exchange off my last pawn, but I played this rook g2 idea, so I delayed that by a little bit, and then I delayed it again by sort of getting this knight back, and these might not be the precise moves, but what happened at some point was I established this blockade on g5, and he tried, coming around the back with his rook, but he let my king in now, and once the king was in, the rook and knight coordinated for a mate. But as I say, this isn't the exact move sequence, but the game ended with a checkmate with the rook and knight and the king coming in.